Scholars, I hope you're doing so well. I'm really excited to get to work on this with you. I've been trying to send or to upload videos that are actually already uploaded on YouTube because I know a lot of you have been having trouble with finding the correct or have been having trouble getting into my videos or viewing my videos, and I'm really not sure why, and I'm sorry about that. So I have been trying to upload videos that are already on YouTube that hopefully you'll have easier access to. However, with this particular lesson, I couldn't find any videos that I liked that I thought did a good job explaining it. So I want to jump in and I want to do this one with you all. If you can't view this video, you are absolutely welcome. Obviously, can't view this video. You don't know what I'm saying. So I'll write it in the slides as well, but there are other videos you can watch that also do talk about this lesson. I think it just might confuse you a little bit on the exit ticket that you're going to be doing. So let's go ahead and get started. So what we want to work on today, what we're working on, is being able to identify a point on a graph using using xy coordinates. So a point on a graph is anything like this, any space on a graph. The x coordinate is this, right? The amount this way, that's in white, that will be hard to see. The amount this way, or this way, or this way a point is. And the y coordinate is the up and down, right? I like to think about it that with x's, it's a cross, right? You make a cross, and so x goes across, and y has this nice long stem that you have to draw up and down. So that's how I think of x, y coordinates. I remember which one is which. But to be able to identify a point on a graph using xy coordinates, what that's asking us to do is just be able to look at any point in a graph and say that point is located here. And we're doing it by saying where it is on the x and where it is on the y. So you'll see what I mean as we do our first example. So if I were to ask you to find coordinate A, tell me where on this coordinate A was. Well, let's look. On the x coordinate this way, it's here, right? I can draw it up here. It's at exactly 2. And so I'm going to open my parentheses. I'm going to say it's at 2 because when we're graphing, we show our coordinates like this. We say x, y. What's the x coordinate? What's the y coordinate? So A, if I look across, how far across is it? It's exactly 2 across. And how high up is it? Well, it's exactly 1 up. So my A is located at 2 comma 1. In other words, it's 2 across and 1 up. And that is the only point that is at 2, 1, right? Like if I were to tell you to find the point at 2, 1, you would know to look 2 across, you would know to look 1 up. Let's try another one. Let's look at B, right? So here we have B. Again, the first place I'm going to look is where is it on the x coordinate? How far across is it? And B is, it's this far across, right? It goes all the way to the number 3. So the x is 3. And then how far up is it? How far, because remember, right, it's this far across. It's up to 3. Now how far up is it? Well, it's all the way at 2, right? How far up did it go? It went all the way to this 2. And so my coordinates for B will be 3, 2. D, let's look at that. Well, D is located right here on this 4, right? So how far this way did it go? It went 4 across, so it's going to be 4. Now, how far up is it? It's not far up at all, right? It didn't actually go up. So it's at y level 0. It didn't go up, right? Y is how high up it went, and it went 0 up. You can tell, right? It stayed here. There's nothing above it, or it's not like above anything else. And that's how we do that, is we look for that. So C, I want you to try on your own and try to figure that out. Now, let's say I had something like this. and I said to you, tell me where, let's call it, let's call it E. I said, tell me where E was, right? You can look and you can say, well, it's here. It's not quite, oh, actually there is an E, never mind. So let's call this one F. It's not quite at 1, right? On the x coordinate, it's not at 1. It's not at 2. It's exactly 1 between 1 and 2. It's here. So that would be 1 and a half. Let's see if I can fit my half in. Sort of. So my x coordinate here would be 1 and a half. What would my y coordinate be? Well, that's just right here, right? It went all the way up. If I look at how high up it went, it got to 4. So F would be 1 and a half and 4. Similarly, I could tell you, I could say draw a point. I want you to find a point and I want you to draw a point at, what's the color we haven't used yet? This. I could say, please find me 3 and a half, comma, 2 and a half. And if I said, can you find me something here, you would need to go ahead and look for 3 and a half, which is going to be halfway between 3 and 4. So you know it's going to be here, somewhere on this line. And that's for the x coordinate, 3 and a half away from this. And then 2 and a half, you know, is going to be between 2 and 3. And where they meet, which is right here, that is this point that I was just looking for. Okay? So it's all about doing that. Now, something that you do need to remember from the previous lessons in order to do this work, this exit ticket successfully, is remembering that not all lines have the same value. In any one graph, they do. So here, all of the lines, all of these, in other words, right, each one of these is a half, right? I have 3, 3 and a half, 4, 4 and a half, 5, 5 and a half, 6, and so on. But there might be another graph where each one is a different amount. And in fact, that does exist. If you look at your exit ticket here, and this is a little sneak peek into your exit ticket, it says the y coordinate of letter W, that's this one, is 2 2/5. That means that this one here, this right here is 2 2/5, which means that this would be 2 1/5, which would mean this is 2, which would mean this is 1 4/5, and so on and so forth. Although this might actually be 3 2/5. I do need to double check that. But regardless of that, you need to make sure that you are using the right value for each line. How high up is each line? How much space is between each line, right? It's not going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 for this graph. It's going to be split by fifths, and that's something you really need to make sure that you understand before we move on. And if you don't understand it, come to office hours. I miss you. We have a lot of fun, actually. We play Pictionary. We do a lot of awesome things, but I am there to work with you if you have trouble with any of this, all right? I love you, I miss you, and I'll see you soon.